Welcome to the Pebble in My Shoe podcast. The pebble in my shoe is an analogy for an inner niggle or knowing that becomes so insistent that we have to pay attention. We can ignore it only for so long and eventually have to stop to investigate it, listen to it, and honour what it's telling us. It becomes a catalyst for action to change something that no longer serves us. This can be something internal, like a belief or mindset. It can be about how we behave in certain situations or relationships. Or it can be something that changes our life trajectory, like ending a relationship, changing careers, or moving to a different place. Taking the action and making the change invariably requires courage, often a leap of faith, and at the very least, to try something new and outside of our comfort zone. Whatever the action or change happens to be, the pebble ultimately moves us to live more authentically and more aligned to our true nature. My intention for the conversations here is to inspire or offer hope to those of you who resonate with the stories shared, that you'll hear something that supports you on your own journey, and if there's a pebble in your shoe, that you'll find the courage to make the changes that align you closer with your authentic self. Thank you for being here, and let me introduce this episode. Today I'm talking to you, my listeners, about the pebble in my own shoe that became the D.A.I.S.Y Framework. I'm also recording this on a gloriously sunny afternoon, which is much too warm not to have the windows open, and I'm conscious of some birds that are singing in the background, so I hope that isn't a distraction. To set the context, I have to go back to 2007 when I first trained as a life coach. The skills and philosophy I learned then not only taught me how to coach other people, it also taught me how to coach myself. That said, I still have a life coach, but self-coaching is a skill in itself and supports our personal growth. One of the key elements of coaching is asking questions, often powerful ones, to get underneath the surface to the crux of the issues. Very often, it's long-held limiting beliefs, mindsets and paradigms that hold us back, keeping us stuck in relationships, situations, jobs and more that no longer serve us in ways that support, nurture and energize us. In fact, it's often the opposite. They can undermine, deplete and exhaust us. As a life coach, I use a reflective journal after every coaching session. It's standard coaching practice, and there's a very good reason for it. Reflective practice helps us not only learn, but also hone our skills and develop expertise. So when it comes to self-directed personal growth, the same rules apply. Reflective practices help us to become more self-aware, hone our self-management skills, and develop our expertise in growth mindset. I've worked in the field of personal and spiritual growth, personal well-being and mental health for the best part of 2.5 decades now, and it's also been my life's work to work on myself, and my own personal and spiritual growth is a core value. Over this time, I'm always brought back to some basic principles of positive psychology, metaphysics and personal growth that are pillars to our fundamental mental health and well-being. The first is, what you focus on grows, and what you give your attention and energy to will flourish, whether it's good for you or not. Gratitude practice is a game changer for contentment and good well-being. Your intuition is the most solid guidance you can follow. What you bring to the party is a choice, whether you realize it or not. How you show up matters. What you tolerate persists. So what are you allowing? What are you saying yes to every day? So it's easy to trot these principles out as concepts, but never confuse simple with easy. As practices, they require pause and reflection, application and integration, and then rinse and repeat as often as necessary. I use several journaling techniques, and the ones that are most powerful are those that prompt a response from your soul or higher wisdom. My journaling has been a powerful source of guidance for many years, and there's also great power in revisiting entries days, weeks, or even months later. It really helps to integrate the learning and insights. There's a wonderful intuitive phenomenon that occurs as well. It happens to a lot of people, and the more meditation and reflection practices I do, the more common this becomes for me. I call them downloads. So basically, an idea drops in, very often fully or virtually fully formed. This is how the D.A.I.S.Y Framework was born. It downloaded as a concept when I was playing with new business names, and it was formed out of the very principles I've just outlined. DAISY is the acronym, but the flower, the daisy, has been an emblem or symbol for me for the longest time. Often not even consciously, it would manifest on a doodle on a page, and I love the symbolism of how it opens its petals to the light and warmth and closes to the dark and cold. I actually remember watching a total solar eclipse once. I think it was probably the summer of 2012, and I had a planter full of what are lovingly known as lazy daisies, or Michaelmas daisies, I think they are. They're all shades of neon pink, yellow and orange, and they're just beautiful. Anyway, as the moon was passing between the earth and the sun, darkening the sky, the flowers closed, and then they reopened as the sun re-emerged. Anyway, I digress. The concept for the D.A.I.S.Y Framework came in almost fully formed and reflects all of the principles I outlined using DAISY as an acronym. So D of the DAISY acronym is for dedication and mind your resources. So what are you dedicating your time to? And time is another acronym. So it's a sub-acronym within the framework here. And TIME stands for time, ideas, means and energy. And these are resources that can support, nurture and energize you. So how are you dedicating them? Are you dedicating them mindfully or just allowing them to be used up? And by thinking of your time, your ideas, your means and your energy as resources, you can think then in terms of how you invest them, dedicate them, and also how you regenerate them. So dedicate your time, your ideas, your means and your energy to things that support, nurture and energize you. A is for appreciate and practice gratitude. So gratitude practice actually rewires your brain to be more content, optimistic, generous and actually physically healthier. My own 360-degree shift with the practice was when I was in a really bad flare-up of fibromyalgia, a bit over 10 years ago now. And understandably, my focus was on pain, stiffness, fatigue and muscle dysfunction. And the idea that I might never climb a mountain again really depressed me greatly. But when I began the practice of thanking my body for all it was doing for me and being grateful for the parts that were working well, not only did my mood improve, but so did the symptoms I was having. Now, it's not a silver bullet in the sense that one dose doesn't heal all your ailments, but daily application slowly and steadily grows your appreciation neurons, and soon it becomes your default. But leave it off the menu and you will witness decline. So appreciate is a pillar of the framework for a sound reason, and there's always something to be grateful for. Indeed, there's also radical gratitude practice, a practice where you begin to appreciate the adversity in your life as an opportunity to learn, grow, or change in a way that aligns you with something better. The idea that life happens for you, not to you. I is for intuition. Listen to your soul. How often do we override or negate the inner niggle, the hunch, the knowing, only to realize that it was right all along? We enter or stay in situations and relationships when we know in our hearts it's not aligned. Intuition is a sense and requires practice to attune to. Listening to your soul is not on the school curriculum, and yet it's a life skill that we often come to learn as a result of ignoring it repeatedly. So the D.A.I.S.Y Framework provides an opportunity to check in with your soul and higher wisdom. S is for showing up. Be true to yourself. So how are you showing up? What are you bringing to the proverbial party? Who are you showing up for? Are you showing up enough for yourself? Now, we often wear masks or become chameleons and for one reason or another play out some role that isn't authentic. And it's not to be liars or deceive anyone per se. It's often because we formed some belief along the way that our authentic self isn't good enough, worthy enough, or just isn't enough, period. Or maybe we've been told we're actually too much. Whatever it is, we use a lot of energy showing up in ways that we perceive other people want us to or expect us to show up, rather than showing up as we truly are. So, hiding our light so others don't feel uncomfortable. And last but not least is Y, for yes. Align with your truth. So what are you saying yes to? Remember, what you tolerate persists, and everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. So is this aligned with your values? Does it feel authentic to you? The whole premise of this podcast, The Pebble in My Shoe, is based on these principles too. My guests tell stories of their journey through various aspects of these principles, of how they navigate the intuitive hits and guidance that move them to align more fully with their personal values and calling. This often requires courage to make changes that can upset the status quo around us, but ultimately reward us with a life we can then call our own. The many pebbles that have been in my shoe along the way have been catalysts for my ever-evolving and unfolding life path. They've also been grist to the mill of creativity that have produced the resources that I offer through the Daisy Coaching Hub. I'm just delighted to have so many of you on this journey with me. I'm going to pop a link in the show notes where you can download the D.A.I.S.Y Framework. It's a PDF, it's a journaling prompt worksheet. And in doing so, in full transparency, you'll be subscribing to my newsletter that you'll then receive every Thursday at 6 p.m. And after you've successfully subscribed, you'll receive a further email with links to even more D.A.I.S.Y Framework resources. And in case you're interested, every Monday at 7, I host an online class called Rest, Reflect and Reset, where I hold space for you to ground your energy, practice some mindfulness and reflective practices, and reset your energy for the week ahead. I hope you found this episode interesting and helpful. Thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed listening to The Pebble in My Shoe, please like, subscribe and share it with others. It helps spread the word about the podcast and reach more listeners. And if you have a story to tell about a pebble in your shoe, please get in touch. I'd love to talk with you about it on the show. As well as hosting this podcast, I'm the CEO of D.A.I.S.Y Coaching Hub, where I provide one-to-one coaching for personal growth, mental health and well-being, group classes and seminars, and self-directed resources that support, nurture and energize you on your personal growth journey. I really look forward to sharing the next episode of The Pebble in My Shoe with you. So bye for now.